Reports released in recent days have drawn attention to an alleged shipment of hundreds of portable air defense missiles that could be headed toward Iran through a commercial network based outside the country. Although several details remain disputed and independent verification is limited, the claims have already sparked discussion among military analysts and government officials. At the center of those reports is an alleged agreement involving between 300 and 400 man-portable air defense systems, often called MANPADS. According to the reporting, the transaction is linked to a Hong Kong-based company rather than an official Chinese state arms exporter. If accurate, the first shipment could arrive within weeks through a route reportedly passing through Pakistan. The reports have also raised another question. Why would portable missile systems become such a priority at this stage of the conflict? That question becomes even more interesting when viewed alongside recently circulated combat footage. One widely shared video appears to show a U.S. Navy F/A-18 Super Hornet conducting a low-altitude attack over southern Iran. During the sequence, an explosion can be seen behind the aircraft. The exact cause has not been confirmed. It could represent several different possibilities, and the available footage alone does not provide a definitive answer. What is clear is that low-altitude combat operations leave very little time for pilots to react if a threat suddenly appears. Modern aircraft rely on multiple defensive systems, including flares, electronic countermeasures, and decoys designed to reduce the chances of a successful missile strike. Around the same period, public statements from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps continued following weeks of reported military strikes. Those statements suggested that pressure in the region would continue, particularly around key waterways, adding another layer to an already tense security situation. Against that backdrop, reports of a possible MANPADS purchase attracted immediate international attention. According to Reuters, the reported contract could be valued between $60 and $70 million. The missiles identified in those reports include the Chinese-made QW-12 and FN-16 systems. While many aspects of the alleged deal remain disputed, the reports suggest that the first deliveries could begin within weeks if the transaction proceeds. Those reports also describe an alleged transportation network designed to move equipment through multiple intermediaries rather than through direct government channels. If accurate, such a structure would make tracing responsibility significantly more complicated. However, the claims have been firmly challenged. China's foreign ministry rejected the reports, calling them groundless. Pakistan's military also denied claims that its territory would be used as a transit route. Both governments disputed the allegations, leaving important questions unanswered. The reports also referenced previous diplomatic commitments regarding military exports. According to those accounts, Chinese officials had previously indicated that weapons would not be supplied to Iran through official state channels. If the reported transaction exists, it has been described as involving private or intermediary actors rather than direct government participation. Whether those claims ultimately prove accurate remains uncertain. As governments exchange statements, attention has shifted toward the aircraft that analysts believe would be among the primary targets if portable air defense systems became more widely available. One incident frequently discussed occurred on March 19, 2026. According to reports cited by military publications, a U.S. Air Force F-35A Lightning II was flying a combat mission over Iran when it was reportedly struck by ground fire. The aircraft was damaged, and the pilot reportedly sustained injuries before successfully flying the fighter out of hostile airspace and landing safely. A U.S. Central Command spokesperson later stated that the aircraft landed safely and that the pilot was in stable condition. The exact weapon involved has never been officially confirmed. However, some reports suggested the possibility of a shoulder-fired missile because of the apparent absence of radar warning before the impact. If that assessment is correct, it highlights one of the reasons portable air defense systems continue to attract attention, despite the existence of far larger missile batteries. Unlike large radar-guided systems, shoulder-fired missiles can operate with much smaller launch teams and require far less infrastructure. Their mobility makes them difficult to locate before they are fired. That challenge has shaped aircraft design for years, particularly for fifth-generation fighters intended to operate inside heavily defended airspace. According to publicly available information, the F-35 was designed from the beginning to operate in environments where multiple air defense threats could exist at the same time. Rather than relying on a single defensive system, the aircraft combines sensors, electronic warfare capabilities, and automated threat detection to improve pilot awareness during combat. One of the systems frequently discussed is the Distributed Aperture System, known as the AQ-37. It uses 6 infrared cameras positioned around the aircraft to provide nearly continuous coverage in every direction. Instead of requiring the pilot to search for a launch visually, the system is designed to detect heat signatures, monitor potential threats, and present that information directly through the pilot's helmet display. Working alongside it is the ASQ-239 Electronic Warfare Suite. This system is intended to monitor radar emissions, identify potential threats, and assist with defensive responses. Depending on the situation, it can help manage countermeasures while improving the pilot's awareness of the surrounding battlespace. Some aircraft may also employ towed decoys and other defensive measures intended to reduce the likelihood of a missile successfully tracking its target. Even with those capabilities, analysts point out that shoulder-fired missiles present a different type of challenge. Many of these weapons rely on infrared seekers instead of radar guidance. That means they may not trigger the same warning systems associated with radar-guided missiles. As technology evolves, aircraft designers continue adapting defensive systems to address new threats, and military planners generally expect that process to continue. If the reported shipment reaches its destination, observers believe the systems could be intended to complicate low-altitude air operations rather than replace larger, integrated air defense networks. Reports identify the missiles as QW-12 and FN-16 models. Open-source information describes them as portable air defense weapons capable of engaging low-flying aircraft within relatively short ranges. While performance estimates vary, they are generally intended for targets such as helicopters or aircraft operating at lower altitudes. Military analysts often note that the greatest advantage of these systems is mobility. A small team can relocate quickly, remain concealed, and launch with little warning before moving again. That flexibility can make detection significantly more difficult than tracking fixed radar sites or large missile batteries. The reported missiles are also described as carrying high-explosive fragmentation warheads equipped with impact or proximity fuses. Open-source estimates place their speed between roughly Mach 1 and Mach 2, although exact performance figures vary across different sources. Whether or not the reported deal proceeds, many observers believe the broader discussion reflects a changing approach to regional military strategy. Following months of reported strikes against larger air defense systems and military infrastructure, attention appears to have shifted toward smaller, more dispersed capabilities that are harder to locate and target. Rather than concentrating equipment at fixed locations, portable systems can be distributed across wide areas, making them less predictable and potentially more difficult to eliminate through conventional air operations. Beyond the reported weapons transfer, several other developments also attracted attention this week. President Trump announced on Truth Social that negotiators had reached what he described as a historic agreement calling for the complete disarmament of Hamas and other armed groups in Gaza. The announcement outlined the proposal as a major step toward regional security. At the time of the announcement, broader implementation details and long-term outcomes remained to be seen. Another developing story emerged in Minnesota. According to investigators, more than 30 community water systems experienced disruptions after unauthorized access affected internet-connected control equipment. Operators reportedly switched to manual operations, allowing water service to continue without interruption. Officials investigating the incident told CBS News that they were examining whether Iranian-linked hackers could have been involved. At the same time, they emphasized that the investigation remained preliminary and cautioned that another actor could potentially imitate Iranian activity, making attribution uncertain. The incident highlighted how modern security concerns increasingly extend beyond traditional military operations. Digital infrastructure has become another area where governments and investigators monitor potential threats while carefully evaluating evidence before assigning responsibility. Another reported development involved Egypt's Mediterranean coast. According to available reports, an American-owned floating storage and regasification unit near the Egyptian port of Damietta was struck by a drone. Egyptian authorities stated that the incident caused a fire, which also spread to a nearby carrier vessel. Both crews were safely evacuated, and no injuries were reported. The identity of those responsible has not been officially confirmed. However, the timing of the incident led some analysts to examine whether it could be connected to broader regional tensions. As with several other developments discussed throughout this report, investigators continue to evaluate the available evidence before drawing firm conclusions. Taken together, These stories point toward a broader pattern that some security analysts believe is emerging. Instead of relying primarily on large, fixed military systems that can be identified through radar or satellite imagery, attention appears to be shifting toward smaller, more dispersed capabilities. Portable air defense systems, drones, cyber operations, and decentralized logistics each present different challenges than traditional military formations. Unlike large radar installations, portable missile teams can relocate frequently. Their mobility makes them harder to predict, while their smaller footprint reduces the amount of infrastructure required to support them. Whether or not the reported missile shipment ultimately reaches Iran, analysts say these types of systems are increasingly relevant in modern conflicts. The reported cyber incidents in Minnesota illustrate a similar principle from a different domain. Rather than targeting military forces directly, attackers may attempt to disrupt civilian infrastructure, creating operational challenges without conventional military engagement. Investigators continue working to determine responsibility, and officials have cautioned against reaching conclusions before the evidence is fully examined. The reported drone strike in Egypt reflects another example of how relatively small systems can affect strategically important locations. Even when physical damage is limited, such incidents can prompt additional security measures and increase concerns about protecting critical infrastructure. For military planners, this changing environment requires constant adaptation. Modern aircraft continue to receive software updates, improved sensors, and enhanced defensive systems designed to address evolving threats. Portable missiles, electronic warfare, unmanned aircraft, and cyber operations all influence how future missions are planned and executed. At the same time, governments continue monitoring reported supply networks that could move military equipment across international borders through commercial intermediaries. Whether those reports are ultimately verified or disproven, they demonstrate the importance of intelligence gathering, international cooperation, and careful verification before major policy decisions are made. For now, several key questions remain unanswered. Will the reported shipment of portable air defense systems actually take place? Can investigators verify the reported transportation route? Will governments uncover additional evidence supporting or contradicting the original reports? And how will military planners respond if portable air defense systems become more widespread across the region? Those questions remain under active scrutiny, and many of the claims discussed today continue to be investigated. As more verified information becomes available, the picture may become clearer. For now, the reported arms deal, the alleged combat incidents, the cyber investigation in Minnesota, and the drone strike in Egypt all illustrate how rapidly evolving events can intersect across military, technological, and diplomatic domains. The coming weeks may provide greater clarity. Until then, distinguishing verified facts from developing reports remains essential to understanding an increasingly complex security landscape.